Hey guys, SunDown here. This is going to be my chapter review to Nanatsu no Taizai 269, Purgatory Life. Now, this was a really dope chapter. It was really good. I really enjoyed it, and I think a lot of people enjoyed it. It was pretty much just Ban and Meliodas enjoying each other's company, and I really enjoyed it. So we start with Ban and sleeping Meliodas within this kind of like mountain overhang thing, with Ban waiting for Meliodas to wake up. And Meliodas awakens and is shocked to find himself in his humanoid form. He's looking at his hand like, yo, what the hell, I'm back. But more shocked that Ban is in Purgatory with him, enough that he thinks that Ban is an illusion. He's like, yo, like, you can't be here. Like, how the hell is Ban here? And after Ban confirms that he's the real deal by just saying, yeah, it's me, baby, Meliodas just gives him the manliest man hug that ever existed. And both Meliodas and Ban are like completely naked. They're totally naked, so, you know, no homo. Meliodas then ugly cries into Ban's shoulder as he finally gets to meet his best friend after what's been like centuries of him being alone in Purgatory. Meliodas then explains how he'd given up, realizing that he'd never get out of Purgatory and see Elizabeth or Ban again. So that was really why he was so despaired and so disappointed and so kind of depressed. He then asks if Ban is dead or if his soul, how his soul came to Purgatory, how he managed to get to Purgatory. So Ban then tells him of his task, which is to retrieve Meliodas, which excites Meliodas. You know, Ban is here to retrieve me from Purgatory, so surely Ban must know like the way out. He definitely knows the way out. He's going to take me there. Only for Meliodas to realize that Ban has no idea where he is or how he's going to get out, meaning that we're going to get the best duo chilling in Purgatory and just doing shit. So I like how upfront Ban is being with Meliodas now, though, telling him that he didn't want to leave Meliodas alone in Purgatory, and that's why he's here, you know, as his best buddy. He wants to be here with Meliodas in a difficult time. Meliodas is also upfront with Ban in this chapter, talking about his daddy issues, and, you know, how he's not actually Meliodas, he's just like the emotional soul kind of thing, and he's not really hiding his demonic identity from Ban anymore, as he had done for so many years. So Meliodas then brings up their nakedness, leading Ban to the bulk of the chapter, you know. So here we have Meliodas giving us his version of planet Earth called Purgatory Life, where he kind of establishes that there are two main varieties of monster found within Purgatory. The first is the foreign species, souls which have fallen into Purgatory somehow, like Meliodas and like Ban, and they've been transformed by their emotion or by their rage, he says, but I think it's by any any negative emotion, so despair or anything like that, and they transform into these like blackened creatures, much like Meliodas and Ban were last chapter, exactly like Meliodas and Ban were like last chapter. The second species of monster is the indigenous species, born and raised in Purgatory, meaning their flesh and bones can survive the harsh environment of Purgatory. So you see where I'm going with this. This indigenous creature is the one that Ban and Meliodas are after, so that they can fashion some clothes out of it. But another point is that this indigenous creature that we see has a certain cutesy, weird nature to it that is very reminiscent and reminded me of Kath and Hawk. And I think people have mentioned this on Reddit. Are Kath and Hawk creatures of Purgatory? Because that would make a lot of sense. It would explain why their abilities are so unique, especially in the case of Hawk, because we've actually seen a few of his abilities, more than we've seen of Kath. But Kath has this ability to just eat anything, and they're both kind of, especially in the case of Kath, looks very demonic. So I think both Hawk and Kath may actually be entities from Purgatory. It would explain a lot. So Ban and Meliodas want to make clothes out of this indigenous creature, but it proves a difficult task. A foreign creature then attacks one of these indigenous creatures, but the indigenous creature has such incredible speed that it zips past this creature, and actually zips past Meliodas and Ban about 50 meters away in a flash, and enough to shock both Meliodas and Ban. Ban tries to attack the creature and completely misses it due to its speed. Meliodas then tries to grab it or whatever, tries to hit it, but gets knocked into the air and almost knocked out. And here we find out that Meliodas is actually very weak, as he's only really a bundle of emotions. He's essentially not even realistically the soul of Meliodas, but he's just a bundle of emotions. And he's not actually a physical body in the sense that if you were to, I'm not sure what would happen if this Meliodas in Purgatory would step out into the real world. What would happen? Would he retain his physical body? And would he fight against the Meliodas that's in the real world, or would he, upon seeing the Meliodas of the real world, just kind of like magnetize and fuse with him or something? That's what I assume would happen. Because I doubt that they're going to get Meliodas v Meliodas, because this Meliodas is incredibly weak. That would just be stupid. So I assume upon entering the real world, he might just like a homing missile just fire into the Meliodas that we see in the real world now. But I'm not too sure how that's going to go down. So as a result of this, he tells Ban to leave him behind, because he's only going to weigh him down because of how weak he is. And Ban then opts to carry Meliodas. A bold declaration, seeing as they're both completely naked. And Ban is going to have to really wipe his memories of this whole adventure, especially if all this movement that Ban is going through excites Meliodas in any way, causes an excitation somewhere. That Ban's really going to have to wipe his memories of all of this thing. So Ban tries to fox hunt the creature, but it proves too fast to focus on, so you can't absorb its speed or anything like that. So we then get a montage of Meliodas and Ban playing kiss chase with this creature while they have like a conversation over the sequence. There's no telling how long this actually took. It could have been days, but it felt more like years. And over this time, Meliodas tells Ban about how every time he died, his emotions would be torn from his real body, and they would be imprisoned in Purgatory. And obviously the reason why is the Demon King wants Meliodas to be emotionless, to be devoid of emotion, so he can be as ruthless as of a leader, as a successor as possible. So what I liked about this was that Ban was putting in all the hard work in Purgatory, because we know that Meliodas is weak now. So it's really a super quick training arc for Ban, for us, but it's like centuries for Ban in the story. So it was a really good way to really just improve Ban's physical attributes, and even his even just like his regenerative capacity and things like that, really quick, and for us to get to see that. After Meliodas compliments Ban on his toughness surviving Purgatory, Ban tells us of the ordeals he's had to deal with. Stuff like, for the first 100 years, he actually burnt down to ash, he revived and then burned down again, he was frozen to the bone, rotted by poisons, all kinds of stuff that really just killed off Ban, but he revived because of his immortality. Until he eventually got used to it after about 200 years. And the buff for Ban here is that his regenerative capacity and his pain threshold will be off the charts. He is going to be insane. Our boy has been through some shit in Purgatory, but he's going to be amazing when he returns, and I can't wait for that. And even after 200 years, Ban still has some minor side effects like coughing up blood, frostbite, if you want to call that minor. But you can sleep through most of those now, even the skin burning and things like that. So Ban then focuses and at light speed one-shots this indigenous creature they'd been hunting for years. And once again we see how powerful Ban is going to be. He's going to be super fast, super strong, and have a mad regenerative capacity. So all of this without even using his ability Snatch, which may now have a higher threshold, I think, because of an increase to Ban's base power. So he's going to be able to absorb people, or he's going to be able to use Snatch and like Hunterfest and Foxhunt and things like that on people like Zeldaris, and really kind of sponge a lot of their power. I think he only got about half of Garen's power, and he was kicking ass, but I think he's going to have a higher threshold by far, maybe even double that. So Meliodas and Ban eat what they can of the creature, but also use his hide and bones for their clothes. And while they're doing this, Meliodas thanks Ban for having come to Purgatory for him. Ban tells Meliodas how Merlin mentioned that Meliodas was captured by the Demon King, and kind of Ban assumed that he would be imprisoned by the Demon King. And it turns out that Meliodas was indeed actually imprisoned by the Demon King, and was kept under close kind of surveillance, close watch. But once his despair had consumed him and he turned into that kind of darkness beast of Purgatory, the Demon King just set him free and was like, yeah, you're not a threat to me anymore. You're not a threat to anybody, because you're not going to escape while you're in this crazy form. So you can just wander Purgatory for all your days, essentially. Not accounting that someone would come into Purgatory to try and save Meliodas, not even thinking that someone could do that. But Ban then asks a really important question. Why would the Demon King let Meliodas escape? There's always the chance that Meliodas could have chanced upon the exit to Purgatory just by accident. So what if Meliodas that's the question he asks. What if you stumbled upon the exit by accident? And it's here that Meliodas realizes that the Demon King must guard the exit, which is why he was being so carefree about Meliodas' whereabouts. And Ban and Meliodas just kind of look at each other and they're like, aight, let's go take a look. So someone mentioned here that Ban and Meliodas should open up a tailor store, and I agree with them because the clothes they make are banging. Meliodas looks a lot like his Ten Commandments form, with a blacked out kind of jacket, buttoned up, gloves which have like studs on them, and studded pants, and he's got a bone sword. While Ban wears kind of like the leopard print like skin of the creature in a sort of open front crop top, with his usual full length trousers. They both look insane, and they kind of just move forward ready to meet with the Demon King. So the next chapter and the chapters to come, it's going to be hype, because we get to see some Demon King hype. Hopefully we get to see Meliodas conversing with his dad. We get to see Ban meeting the Demon King for the first time, possibly the only human alive that will actually see the Demon King or remember the Demon King. And we get to see how Ban actually gets Meliodas out of Purgatory, and how they get each other out of Purgatory, really, and what happens when Meliodas gets back into the real world. Does he just fly back to his original body, and suddenly Meliodas has his emotions back again, or do they have to fight, or do they have to fuse or something like that? I have no idea, and I hope it's not some sort of long thing where they have to fight each other for control of each other's bodies or something like that. I'm hoping he just goes back into the real world. A few chapters go by, and upon seeing his body, he just kind of melds with it once again. So that was the chapter. Let me know what you guys thought. I really enjoyed it. Let me know what you guys thought of this review. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll see you guys in a bit.